Sun Kit from Sabah. My questions are for Dr. Balakrishnan with regard to the devices. First, when's the earliest that we can expect the devices to be rolled out? Second, how would they be distributed to the masses? And thirdly, would the use of such devices be mandated by law, given that the take-up rate of the TraceTogether app is low since it's optional? Thank you.
Thank you. First question is on when. The first batch will probably be delivered in the latter half of this month. So we will roll that out progressively at that point. And as I said, we are focusing on digital inclusion, which means those who currently don't have a smartphone or don't have a smartphone that works well enough to provide the necessary data to MOH. The second question is on how it will be distributed. Well, I will say that we've now got quite extensive experience with distribution to the population. So I'm sure we'll rely on similar means, basically through the community centers and so on, depending on where it is needed and depending on our priorities at that point in time. Your third question, which is on whether it should be mandated. Well, let me start from first principles. Today, we have 25% on a voluntary basis. Do I believe that we can increase it further on a voluntary basis? I believe we can. We need to educate, we need to reassure, we need to demonstrate to people the value that comes from downloading and using it for yourself, that you are helping to protect the community, you're protecting your own family, and even for yourself, because as I said earlier, if you have the app or the device, if you have been exposed to someone who's positive, you may not know that, the person may not know that, but the system will be able to inform you of that. So I still believe that if Singaporeans if we explain it and explain it well and persuade Singaporeans, we can still increase its usage significantly. Secondly, the fact that we now have devices which will also make it more inclusive is another opportunity to increase it further. My third point, it may sound a bit more philosophical, but with the permission of the two co-chairs, when you're controlling a pandemic like this, actually there are many aspects of it you cannot legislate. You can have rules, you can pass laws, you can enforce it. The majority of people will comply with both the spirit and the letter of the law. And unfortunately, a minority sometimes will try to find loopholes. Actually, the same principle applies even for contact tracing, or even for testing and the doctor-patient relationship. If we can get a spirit of trust, openness, compassion, mutual responsibility, and we can get our population to understand that and subscribe to it and act on that impulse, our ability to overcome this pandemic will be so much greater. So what I'm saying is I'm going to do my best to try to push the participation rates up without having to go down the mandatory route. Whether or not circumstances will ever worsen to the point where MOH may say we have no choice, that is something which we cannot predict at this point in time. So I hope you understand what is more important to understand is the spirit behind what we are rolling out and why we are doing what we are doing. And if there's feedback, if there's concerns, if there is genuinely held anxiety, it is our duty to address it, to respond to that, and if need be, to make changes to the execution plan.